It means a lot, just to see where I fit in, to play against the best of the best. The W has the best competition in the world. So,
welcome to Ballgorithm USA. The pulse, the poetry, the power of basketball like you've never seen before. If you're here, you already know what time it is. This isn't just a highlight reel. This isn't just a breakdown. This is a cinematic journey through hardwood history. One dribble, one pass, one game at a time. This is where legends are written in sweat, screams, and seconds left on the shot clock. So, hit that like button, smash subscribe, and turn on those post notifications, because what you're about to witness is pure basketball warfare. Now let's step into the fire that is the Indiana fever. And tonight, the furnace is fully lit. The crowd was still buzzing, still soaked in the echoes of Friday night's battle. The fever had clawed their way through Dallas, but this wasn't about resting on a single win. This was about momentum. About proving to everyone watching that without Caitlin Clark, they could still bring the storm. And they did. First possession. No time to ease into the game. No feel-out punches. Just Kelsey Mitchell, slicing through the lane like a blade. Through butter. No hesitation, no mercy. She kissed it off the glass like it owed her something. 2 points, no apologies. And if you ever doubted her, if you ever questioned whether she could run the point, you must not have been watching. She didn't want the role once, maybe, but now, she owns it. She wears it like armor. Then comes Natasha Howard. Calm, calculated, dangerous. She draws defenders like gravity, then swings it to Ari McDonald in rhythm. Splash. The net barely moves. And just like that, the Fever were cooking early. The message was simple. We're not here to compete. We're here to control. Next play down, Mitchell again. Mid-range pull-up, pure. No wasted motion, no drama, just cash. A sniper in sneakers. A Rye McDonald. She wasn't done either. Hard drive to the rim. Took the contact, finished anyway. That's speed. That's fearlessness. That's a player who doesn't wait for permission to take over. She just does it. But the elephant in the room was obvious. Caitlin Clark. The heartbeat of this team's offense wasn't on the court, out for the night. And without her, you expected turbulence, turnovers, hesitation, miscommunication. But what you got instead was Sydney Colson, veteran, floor general, ice in her veins. She checks in, reads the floor, calls the action, and then drills a three with the calmness of a player who's been here before. And just like that, the fearless Fever kept rolling. Meanwhile, on the other end, the defense was locked in. McBride tried to create, but Boston, the anchor, the presence, the unshakable force in the paint, disrupted the lane, broke up the pass. Possession over, message delivered. Timpson tried to dance around the perimeter. Heidi looked for daylight. But the passing lane wasn't just closed. It was sealed shut by the length and instincts of Natasha Howard. Next thing you know, Howard picks the pocket. Transition. One bounce pass, perfectly timed. McDonald cuts to the hoop, catches it in stride, and finishes the lay. That's chemistry. That's synergy. That's a team not just surviving without their star, but thriving. And Natasha, she wasn't done flexing her court vision. Next play, double-teamed at the arc. Does she panic? No. She finds Cunningham, left alone in the corner, wide open, splash, 3 more, lead extended, message reinforced, shot clock ticking down now, other side of the floor, opponent dribbling endlessly, looking lost, searching for answers. But all they find is pressure, swarming, suffocating, and finally, they cough it up. Fast break. Coulson pushes tempo, scans, threads the needle. Kelsey Mitchell again, slicing behind the defense. 2 more, easy, veteran poise, defensive grit, offensive rhythm. This wasn't just a good start, this was a statement. And the backbone of that statement? Aaliyah Boston. She didn't just defend, she dictated. She didn't just rebound, she reset the tempo of entire possessions. Her handoffs with Mitchell were like poetry in motion. One screen, one pivot, one burst, and Mitchell had daylight. Swish. The crowd rose. The bench exploded. A 9-0 run ignited. The Fever were on fire. The opposing team tried to stop the bleeding, but Memphis couldn't handle the defensive rotations. They tried to reset up top, but Boston met them at the point of attack. She denied. She redirected. She dismantled. Then she leaked out. Open court. Coulson finds her. And while the finish might not have dropped this time, the presence was undeniable. She controlled the court without saying a word. Indiana was flying, and through all of it, they weren't playing selfish. They weren't forcing shots. They were executing with surgical precision. Mitchell curled around screens. McDonald slashed when the lane opened. Coulson ran the sets like a conductor leading an orchestra. Every pass had purpose. Every cut had intent. Every bucket felt like destiny unfolding in real time. This was a team that had every excuse to struggle tonight. No Caitlin Clark? No problem. The Fever weren't looking for sympathy. They were looking for scalps. And by the end of that first quarter, they had momentum in a chokehold. But this was only the beginning. And if you think the Fever were just happy with a hot start, you haven't been paying attention. This team doesn't just play basketball. They live it, they breathe it, they bleed it. And with every possession, they were writing a new story. One that didn't rely on headlines or hype. One that relied on grit, sweat, and unrelenting execution. This was Indiana basketball, and it was just getting started. The energy had shifted, the tide had turned, but no one inside the arena could quite put their finger on when it began. Was it the moment Aaliyah Boston finally got on the scoreboard? Her first field goal after a 0-for-6 start? Or was it something deeper? Something invisible but undeniable, like the hum of destiny growing louder with every tick of the clock? Boston, the quiet titan, planted her feet, pivoted, backed down the defense like a sculptor carving out space with every movement. Then came the soft floating finish. The kind of shot that doesn't just fall, it declares. And just like that, silence. Not from the Fever bench, not from their fans, but from Minnesota. The Lynx had gone ice cold. 11 possessions, 0 field goals, 7 empty trips, 4 turnovers, and more than just the scoreboard slipping away, their grip on the game itself had loosened. And Indiana, they smelled blood. A missed shot on one end, and Boston was there again, scrapping, clawing, not just boxing out, but owning the glass. She kicked it out like a quarterback reading the blitz, and there in the corner, perfectly placed, was Christy Cunningham. Catch, fire, boom, 3, Indiana back on top. It wasn't just the points. It wasn't just the run. It was how they were doing it. Boston missed, but she never quit. That drive, that rebound, that kick out, it was everything this Fever team stood for. Relentless, focused, hungry. Minnesota wasn't getting clean rebounds anymore, not because they weren't trying, but because Boston had declared the paint her property. And in her house, nothing came easy. Then Williams tried to steady the ship for the Lynx and sailed it straight into a turnover. The passes grew frantic. The body language screamed frustration. Natasha Howard knew exactly what time it was. She took the ball, turned on the jets, drove like a freight train, and drew contact. Foul. And that whistle, it felt like a crack in Minnesota's armor. They were bleeding. Indiana took the inbound fast, no hesitation. Boston received it. Around the rim, easy touch, 2 points, just like practice. The kind of execution that doesn't happen by accident. It happens from reps, from trust, from hours of grinding when no one's watching, then suddenly, confusion on the floor. How did Indiana lose Nafessa Collier in transition? Where was the rotation? The Lynx looked disoriented, disconnected, like a team trying to solve a puzzle that kept changing pieces. But the Fever? They were locked in. Kelsey Mitchell, ever the artist with the basketball, danced across the baseline. Behind the back, nearly lost the handle, but recovered like a pro. Her handles aren't just tight, they're expressive. She's not just dribbling, she's speaking a language. And while Mitchell stirred the defense, Arie McDonald made her move, sneaking, slashing, darting, like a shadow behind enemy lines. Meanwhile, Howard slipped into the paint, shoulder lowered, eyes wide, and muscled up a finish right through traffic. Pure bully ball. Natasha Flash Howard, delivering reminders all night long. Minnesota tried to plead with the refs, wanting calls, hoping for whistles. But this wasn't about calls anymore. It was about control. And the Fever had it. Boston again, defended by the reigning Defensive Player of the Year. No fear. She picks up the dribble, scans. No panic. She finds her shooter. Out beyond the arc. Bang. Another three. Another statement. This wasn't just offense. This was offensive art. Cutting. Movement. Fluidity. Boston standing near the elbow like a chess master. Calculating. Waiting. Orchestrating. Her eyes saw it before it happened. McDonald cut sharply through the lane, dragging defenders with her, and as the defense collapsed inward, space exploded outward. Open three. Clean look. Down it went. Every possession was a lesson in spacing, in patience, in poise. Then, chaos. A lazy pass. Natasha Howard jumped the route. The ball was hers, cleanly picked. And then it was just hardwood and opportunity in front of her. Open court, full steam, layup, bucket. Indiana was now flying. Not on wings but on fire. The home crowd, silent, not stunned, shaken. Momentum wasn't just shifting. It was being ripped out of Minnesota's hands like a flag at war. Natasha Howard, former Defensive Player of the Year, was operating on both ends like she was born in this moment. Reading the eyes of Nafessa Collier, anticipating the pass, deflecting, and then accelerating. No wasted dribble, no hesitation, just open court carnage. Indiana didn't just look confident, they looked like a team that had seen this game in their dreams. Every rotation was in sync, every cut had purpose, every loose ball belonged to them before it even hit the floor. And Boston? She was the Storm's center. What started as a 0-for-6 night was now transforming into something deeper, something symbolic. She was everywhere. She contested without fouling. She boxed out like the paint was sacred ground. And every time Minnesota missed, which they did often, she was there. The defensive stands turned into fast breaks. The fast breaks turned into baskets, and the baskets turned into doubt. Doubt in the eyes of Minnesota, doubt in the voices of the crowd, doubt in their body language as they looked to the bench with confusion. But Indiana? No doubt, only hunger. Howard slipped into the lane once more, defenders draped over her shoulder, and still, she powered it in. Tough finish, too strong, too calm, too relentless. Cunningham knocked down another big shot from deep. Mitchell stayed elusive, like smoke in a bottle, impossible to contain. And Boston? She kept finding the seams, the soft spots, the little windows most players don't even notice. Her eyes were scanning like radar. Her vision was surgical. McDonald cut to the hoop again, and again defenders followed. It wasn't just a good cut. It was a decoy, a trap. Because that movement cleared the arc for a wide-open shooter on the perimeter. Bang. The Fever weren't just playing good basketball, they were playing unselfish, high IQ, read and react basketball at a level that demanded respect. And that was terrifying. Because this was supposed to be the game where they struggled. No Caitlin Clark, no primary ball handler, no problem. Sydney Coulson, Arie McDonald, Kelsey Mitchell, Natasha Howard, Aaliyah Boston, each one stepping up, each one contributing something vital. And the crowd, still silent. The story of the second quarter wasn't written in just points. It was written in the way Indiana played. The tempo, the trust, the execution.